Welcome, 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 welcome. I'm gonna start right on time at 6:30, but I really just want to jump right in because welcome, 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 welcome. Hey, I'm gonna start do that right on time at 6:30, but there we go. Okay, that's Zoom. So I'm coming to y'all live from Facebook, TikTok, and I'm on YouTube. So I'm gonna jump right in. So last week on my live, I did a session called Thank God for Judas. Right. So my name is Kristen the Mystic. I didn't introduce myself. Let me just say I'm Kristen the Mystic. I am a mystic. I'm a minister, a metaphysician, and I'm also a spiritual midwife. And just to describe what a spiritual midwife is, in the same way midwives physically support the mother and catch the baby as the baby is born, I am someone who supports people giving birth to themselves again, rebirth in a spiritual way. I have been a practitioner for some years, and my oh, hey, cuz. Yeah, I'm glad you came on. All right, so I'm just explaining, just introducing myself, and the work that I have been doing. And I have a long journey, and I'll talk about that in another live, but let me just get to it. So last week I did a session called Thank God for Judas, right? I use a lot of different references in my work. In this particular instance, I'm talking about the Bible, right? And the story of Judas. So Judas historically has been the villain, right? Because he is the man who betrayed Jesus, okay? And anybody who betray someone such as Jesus, he is definitely the villain to us and the story. But I sort of came with another perspective. And this came from me reading this book called The Power Within. Discover the Power Within by Eric Butterworth. And there's a chapter in this book called In Defense of Judas. And he talks about how Jesus, his purpose and his prophecy was to die on the cross, to be resurrected, because he wanted to show man its divinity. And when I say wanted to show man its divinity, he wanted people to understand that them and God are one, that they are one with God, right? The Father and I are one. He wanted to show man that we could rise above what we see in the natural to get heaven on earth because it's possible, right? Is rising to Christ consciousness. Jesus had risen to Christ consciousness. His old self, the old personality, is what died on the cross. What was resurrected was the spiritual man, the spiritual eye, or the divine eye. Because tonight's topic is called the divine eye. Judge not by appearances. So Jesus, his former self, is what died on the cross, and what was resurrected was the spirit man. And in fulfilling his prophecy, Judas had to betray Jesus in order for Jesus to fulfill his prophecy. And that's why when Judas comes into the garden and Jesus is arrested, Jesus says to Judas, friend, do what you came to do. He didn't call him a traitor. He didn't call him a betrayer. He said friend. He called him friend. Friend, do what you came to do. In other words, he knew that Judas was going to betray him because that was a part of the larger divine plan. See, we are spiritual beings. We are divine beings having a human experience, meaning we are spiritual first. We are spiritual beings first. We are divine beings first. And then we're human. And some of us don't come to this earth as human, right? We see divine beings who happen to be animals, right? So understand that we are divine first. Before we enter this flesh, this body, we are divine beings first. And Jesus's prophecy was to help us remember and show us the divinity that resides in each of us. So if it was not for Judas, we would not have witnessed the divinity in man that was brought forth to us through Jesus. So that is what I talked about last week, because I had a whole epiphany around this because of a situation that I am experiencing at this time, right? And it helped me to transcend the energy of thinking that somebody betrayed me or that somebody harmed me or did me wrong. When no, from the natural eye, it looks that way. But from the divine eye, what Jesus was trying to show us in the first place, our divinity, from the divine eye, those people are working for you, for your highest good, and for the highest good of all, even though it doesn't seem that way, which is why tonight's topic is divine eye, judge not by appearances, because things can appear to not be working out for you from the natural eye, but from the divine eye, which is the higher perspective, which is the higher consciousness, from the divine eye, everything is happening exactly how it's supposed to happen. Everything is working in your favor. And so this is about spiritual discernment. In order to get to a place where you can see beyond the physical, where you can see beyond what is being presented to you in the physical, and you can transcend that to see it from a spiritual mind, a spiritual, I call it spiritual, but I call it divine. It's very interchangeable as I'm speaking about this. But the point of this is that we have to develop that spiritual discernment so that we don't get distracted by what we see in front of us, right? Because a lot of times things have to fall apart before they can come together. Now, in tarot, and I have been a tarot reader for many years, tarot is directly linked to astrology. But in the tarot deck, there's a card called the Tower. And the Tower represents all of the false illusions falling away, the tower crumbling, so that the foundation can be solid, so that the foundation for yourself moving forward, you can build on solid ground. So why do we need to know this, or why do we need to hear this, particularly at this time, is because if you are experiencing lack in any kind of way, meaning if you feel that you don't have enough money, enough edges, enough whatever it is, right? Understand that you are the truth, the spiritual truth from the divine eye is that you are spiritually wealthy. You just don't remember. You have just forgotten your divinity. And so the work that we are here to do is to work on ourselves, moving forward in reaching the highest points of consciousness, reaching our highest selves. Why would we want to reach our highest selves? Well, don't you want to be your best self? Maybe some people don't want to be your best self, their best selves, but if you want to be your best self, then a part of that journey is you reaching to those higher heights in order for you to reach heaven on earth, in order for you to reach the highest level of consciousness that you can reach. Now, a lot of people don't believe or might not believe in heaven on earth, but I absolutely believe in heaven on earth. There is a place that we can get to in our minds and our consciousness to where we see things from a divine perspective, from the divine eye. So you don't look at your current circumstances, if you low on cash or whatever it is that you got going on, and say that this is the truth of me, right? Because it's not the truth of you. Even if your physical reality is not showing you what you want to see, that just means that you have more spiritual work to do on yourself. Because understand this, everything happens in the spiritual first before it comes to the physical. Before you can see it in the physical, it happened here in divine mind first. And we know this, right? Because any of the ideas that you have start here. You can't see an idea yet. It drops into you like a seed, right? But you don't actually see that idea until you have done the work to bring it into physical form. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you came up with an idea, a business idea, right? It will remain an idea just in your head until you do whatever it is that you need to do in order to bring it into the physical reality. You might have to write a business plan. You might have to go raise some money or take out a loan. And you have to do some branding. You got to come up with a logo. There are things that you have to do in order to bring it into the physical reality. And so that is the truth for everything around us. Everything around us. Everything starts in the spirit first, and then it manifests into the physical only with you deciding and choosing to seek yourself, to seek the kingdom, to seek the God within you, to seek Christ, whatever it is that you might call it, right? You seek that first, and everything else shall be added onto you. But if you seek that first and know that spiritual truth first, then it's only a matter of time for it to come into the physical. So, for example, you have all of this creativity within you. We are born to create. So, we are born with the wealth, the spiritual wealth within us. It resides within us. But as we start to get older, we become conditioned to the world around us, and we start to forget that divine spiritual wealth that all that resides within us. And so the work that you are to do is to chip away at that conditioning until you start to remember who you are. And a lot of times it starts with you asking yourself, what did you like to do when you were a kid? Like, what were some of the activities that lit you up and you couldn't wait to do it? Was it puzzles? Was it books? Was it games? Like, what was it? Like, what did you really enjoy when you were a kid? Whatever you enjoyed as a kid, that is something that you probably need to tap back into now as an adult. You have these treasures within you that are waiting to show itself. But in order to get to it, you do have to tap in. Not just tap in, but you have to seek yourself, seek who you are, seek the God within, because God is not just out here. God is omnipotent, omnipresent, all around within you as well. So you tap into that and you start to bring out that spiritual wealth that you have here into the physical. And as you bring that out into the physical and you share it, that is a part of the service that you give to the community or the world around you, is your spiritual gift, allowing the God within to work through you, allowing the God within to express itself through you. You are merely a channel to God's glory. You are the channel, you are the messenger. That's why you get the divine idea, and then it's your work to bring that divine idea into the physical reality, because you need a human body to be able to express that divine idea into the physical reality. And all of this, and it doesn't matter what category it is, this remains true in relationships, family, career, your finances, your money, your health. Even when somebody tells me, when I hear someone say that they sick, I always say, don't say that you sick. The spiritual truth is that you well, right? And you have to work in order to remind yourself of your health, remind yourself of your divinity through affirmations, through prayer, through meditation, through journaling. There's a lot of different tools that you can use, through music, in order for you to continuously remind yourself of your divinity. You can heal yourself. You can literally heal any ailment, any disease, anything that is plaguing you. You can heal. You can heal that. You can heal yourself by working on yourself and through yourself to get to that divine place and divine mind. And it doesn't matter what it is. Everything about us within our bodies is connected to some sort of emotion that if we stay in that energy for too long, it will start to suppress our immune system. It's really our emotions that suppress our immune systems. It's not necessarily this illness or this disease. The illness and the disease is just the manifestation of that negative emotion. So if you learn to deal with that negative emotion, and I don't mean just deal with it through like therapy, and I'm okay with therapy. It's nothing against therapy, but what we are dealing with in our society is something deeper than just needing therapy. We are dealing with a spiritual dis-ease. And so whatever happens in the spirit happens in the physical. So if you are experiencing a physical dis-ease, then you have to check something within your spirit, because that's where it's coming from. It's coming from your spirit. So judge not by appearances, because on the outside, you may be manifesting an illness, but on the inside, what you have to deal with is a spiritual dis-ease. And sometimes that spiritual dis-ease looks like grief, it looks like depression, it looks like anxiety, it looks like high blood pressure, it looks like diabetes, right? And so when you go to the doctor, they can prescribe you all of these medicines, but none of that matters if you don't get to the spiritual truth, or else you are committing yourself to a life of being on medicines and medication, when you can heal yourself by healing your emotions, by seeking the kingdom within. All right. And so at the beginning, I made somewhat of a disclosure where I just kind of introduced myself, because I want to be clear that I don't belong to any religious denomination. And I use a lot of different texts because I study a lot of different belief systems or religions. So the Bible, though, is one of my favorite books, period. I think that it's one of the best self-help books, if not the best self-help book that has ever been written, because the Bible literally will tell you how to address every single aspect of your life: finances, health, whatever, relationships, whatever it is, right? And then, of course, there are some other texts. Like, I read a lot of Florence Scovel Shinn. That's like my girl. I love her. I probably mentioned her before in some of my lives, but I just really love Florence Scovel Shinn. She is the person who introduced me to divine mind, divine principles. She says something in her books like, um, there are no enemies in divine mind. And I kept saying that. I kept affirming that over and over again, but without me really even understanding it. And that's the beautiful thing about affirmations, is that even if you don't believe it at the time, you should still say it, because what you are trying to do is reprogram your subconscious. You're trying to get it to seep down into your subconscious so that it just becomes a natural thought to you that, for example, there are no enemies in divine mind. But when I discovered the other perspective around Judas, then I was like, yes, this is absolutely true. There are no enemies in divine mind. The only enemy that you have is the enemy within, right? Because again, everything starts in the spiritual. So if you are experiencing external enemies, like people who you deem as your enemies, that means that you have something going on within you that you haven't transcended. What does that enemy represent? Right? I would say that when in my past, when I thought that I had enemies, what they actually were doing was helping to refine me. They were helping me to develop my confidence and develop my self-worth and learning how to stand up for myself. Like, they did me a service. They helped me. And so because they helped me, I'm not mad at them. I honor them. I bless them, because I am at the best that I have been in my life ever. Like, I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I just am like full of life. And so if you had to experience those so-called enemies in order for it to push you into greatness, to push you into the best season of your life, then they did you a favor. They did you a solid. So then why do we go around trying to curse our so-called enemies, right? They actually are the ones that help us become the best versions of ourselves, if we desire to become the best and highest versions of ourselves. I desire to become the best and highest version of myself. So when I agree to have enemies in my physical reality, that's me agreeing to increase my relationship with, or evolve, well, you could say increase too, but improve my relationship maybe is the better word that I'm looking for. Improve my relationship with the divine and improve my relationship with the highest. So does that make sense? Because I feel like I've been talking a lot. Now, this is why I like doing in-person classes. I'm getting used to like the online space because there's no interaction back and forth like that, where I have to read the interaction, which is fine too. But it just makes me feel better to have feedback and people ask questions and that sort of thing. So I'm growing into that. Um, but the point, and I wanted to say the point of why I'm here and saying this tonight, I want to read the scripture in particular when Jesus says, judge not by appearances, but judge righteous judgment. That's John 7:24. And again, this is just a continuation of my last talk around Judas. And so Jesus was saying not to judge by appearances is because, again, what it looks like on the outside is actually a divine orchestration. You know what I mean? So I know you said, so we're like, how can this be divine orchestration if I'm not where it is that I want to be? Well, you're where you're supposed to be, right? This is where you're supposed to be. And think about your life. Like, look back on your life now. Is there anything that you thought that wasn't going to work out that actually ended up working out? Like, if you think about it, like most of the things that have occurred in your life have ended up working out and have ended up working out better and better than what you could have, planned. So it's like you have proof that these things do work itself out. You have proof. You have demonstration that you can trust that things of a higher nature are happening in the background that you might not see, you might not know about. And it does happen and it works out in the physical. So here's an example for me. So about, oh my God, it's probably had to be about 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, 6 years ago. I had advocated for this gym, this recreation center to get renovated, and it was like a whole big deal, right? And then COVID came, so it like shut down, and I was really worried. I was like, oh my God, I did all of this work, all this advocacy that I did, all of the yelling that I did at the council and the mayor and everybody, like, this gym is not going to get finished, right? So one day I happened to just have to go up there, but I was outside. I didn't even know I was gonna go in. So one of the maintenance guys, he was like, "Hey," he was like, "I want you to come in here and see this." And I walk into the gym, and the gym is completely renovated, like completely renovated. Now, the last time I was in that gym didn't even have floors because we had pulled up all of the floors. And I just thought that nothing was happening and nothing was going on. And then boom, 4 years later, I show up and the gym is completely renovated. I mean, absolutely beautiful, like completely lit up. And that taught me a lesson about not judging by appearances. Because for 4 years, I thought that nothing was happening in that gym. From appearances, it looked like nothing was going on. Like I never saw any contractors over there. I never saw, not that I was going by there every day, but every time I did go by there, I never saw anybody working on it. So when I walked in, as you can imagine, I'm surprised, like, when did this happen? Right? Like, when did this happen? And so that's just an example of how all of these things, like God be working all of these things out in the background, and you will have no idea. You thinking that it's stagnant, nothing is happening. They not looking at your application, nobody answering your call. Like you thinking you feel a type of way because you thinking people trying to shade you when people not really trying to shade you. It's just a part of the divine plan. Like it wasn't meant for you to know that thing yet. It wasn't meant for you to see that thing yet, beyond divine timing, which we always say, like, oh, things happen in divine time. And like, that's true. But things really happen when you align to them, right? Alignment is more important and more accurate than divine timing. But you could say that divine timing and alignment is the same thing because the things that you want to happen won't happen until you align to them until you align to them. So then your work again is aligning to your highest good. And this is why I'm saying do not judge by appearances because your appearances might depress you. The appearances that's happening in your life right now might depress you. It might cause you anxiety. When you wake up and you like, man, I got to do this. I need to get a job. I need to make some money. I need to do this. The kids got to do this. The kids got to do that. You might find yourself spiraling because you are paying so much attention to what's happening in front of you and not considering that there's a whole divine orchestration going on above your head and in your spirit. Like, I mean, divine orchestration going on. And you sit up here worried, you sit up here stressed, you sit up here depressed, and then boom, God makes a way. Something happens, right? In an instant like that, right? It's something come through. But see, a lot of times we miss it because we're so busy looking at what we don't have, what we don't want, what we don't do, how it's not going to turn out. You know, we have programmed ourselves to look at the bad side of everything. We say like, what's the worst that can happen? Why is you walking around talking about what's the worst that can happen? You should be thinking about what's the best that can happen. What is the best outcome that can happen? You should never be thinking about what's the worst that can happen. You already setting yourself up for the worst to come into your life. Do you know how divine you are, right? Back to Jesus's prophecy of showing man his divinity. Jesus was trying to show us our divinity so we knew to speak life over the things in our world and the things that we want to see. We are so negative. Our society is just a very negative society, right? I mean, you can look at the comments when you go on people's pages and somebody doing something that's, happy or nice, inevitably you find some negative, miserable comments, and it's like we just want to be mad and we want to be upset because we look at the external of our situation and we might not be the weight that we want to be, and we might not be as beautiful as we want to be, and we might not have all the money that we want to have. We might not live where we want to live. And so instead of us being and expressing gratitude for when God shows up in your life, because God always be showing up in your life, but instead of us expressing gratitude for everything that comes into our lives, big or small, we decide that we are going to spiral and we're going to look at things from this negative perspective in this negative way. And then we wonder why we don't have these miracles, so to speak, show up in our lives. We have to learn to be grateful for them. We have to learn it because do not. People can look, here's another thing, because people can look like they have money and they could really be broke. You know what I'm saying? Like you just never know. You just never know. This is why you just cannot judge by appearances. You can't judge by appearances. So what does it actually mean to judge righteously? Because I did just give that scripture and I just want to talk about that because I'm about to get off. I'm only doing 30 minutes. Um, so when Jesus said, judge not by appearances, but judge righteous judgment, he wasn't saying never judge. He was saying don't rely on the natural eye. Rely on divine alignment. To judge righteously is to ask, what is really going on in the spirit realm here? So when like something happens now, I revert back to saying, I'm not going to flick the fly. And what I mean by that is the story of Abraham Lincoln when he was asked, how does he deal with cabinet members coming at him all the time? And he told this story about a farmer who he saw on the road with his horse, and the horse had a huge horsefly on it. And Abraham Lincoln walked over to the horse because he was about to flick the fly off of the horse when the farmer was like, wait, do not flick that fly off the horse, because if it was not for that fly, this old horse wouldn't move an inch. And so he was just saying that these irritants, these seemingly irritants and unsavory situations and people that come into our lives, we so willing and ready to just get them off the way. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with this challenge. I don't want to deal with it. But if we don't have those challenges, if we don't have those things happen, then it won't motivate us to move. That horsefly was motivating that horse to move because it was irritating that horse. So any irritants, anything, any challenges that come into our life, like don't be so quick to flick the fly. allow the challenge to be and say, look, I'm strong enough to face this. I'm strong enough to overcome this. And I know that it is going to work out in my favor because it's moving me to do something, right? That's just like a lot of people, they wait until they have a health scare in order for them to change their diet or to work out more or to do what they know that they needed to be doing in the first place. But if it wasn't for that health scare, aka that horsefly, then they wouldn't move. They wouldn't move. They would just continue doing what they doing, until their death, until their demise. So stop trying to get out of the challenges that you have that come into your life. They are meant for your spiritual growth. They are meant for your higher consciousness growth. They are meant to stretch you in ways that will help bring you closer to your divine self, your divine mind, to heaven on earth. Because I believe in heaven on earth. I really do. And heaven on earth is a mindset. It is a mindset. It is looking at everything from divine mind. It's having spiritual discernment. It's knowing. It's being able to. It's the knowing, and it's being able to decipher the language, right? So I was just talking to my cousin earlier, talking about like how it's a language, like having spiritual truth and spiritual knowing and being a divine mind has its own language. And so then when you listen to people, you can immediately tell if this person is someone who is operating from a divine state of mind or if they are operating from a natural state of mind. And it's a difference, right? Because for them, people who are operating from a natural state of mind, everything is about what is happening around them. And a lot of times it's victimhood. They the biggest victims. They Lord, they victims. So you can hear the language, that means that they are probably complaining about something. Um, they have all of these, depression, anxiety. I mean, it's a language, it's the whole language. Believe me, because people who are operating from divine mind, there's no depression in divine mind, there's no anxiety in divine mind, there's no illness in divine mind. There's no enemies in divine mind. There's no lack in divine mind. There's no loss in divine mind, right? So there is a specific language that you can hear in what people say when you are someone who has done the work. You can tell those who have not. And that's no jab against them. That's no judgment, right? Because we all are where we are in our journey. So let me just continue on with to judge righteously is also to look beyond behavior and see intention, assignment, and soul contract. Intention, assignment, and soul contract. Judas had a soul contract with Jesus, and Judas was assigned to be the betrayer in the spiritual realm, right? Before we make our way here on earth, we make soul contracts with other souls that says, hey, I'm going to be this role to you in this life. We choose our parents, right? So you make an agreement with your parents before you get here. You make an agreement with your family members before you get here. You make agreements with friends. You make agreements with coworkers. You make agreements with all of these people on a soul level before you ever enter a physical body, right? And all of these cast of characters, you are the main character in your life and your movie, right? Everybody is. But this cast of characters all agreed on a soul level to be whatever we're going to be to one another in this life, right? And it's all meant for our individual spiritual growth, right? So those toxic relationships, those toxic jobs, all of those things, it's all meant to help you shed the conditioning and help you remember, get back to who you are so that you can continue operating in your divinity. So to judge righteously also means to recognize divine orchestration, even in betrayal, hardship, or failure. And again, that's the soul level. That's what's going on beyond what it is that we can see. So I was not betrayed. I was delivered. You were not betrayed. You were delivered. You did not have hardship. You figured out 150 ways not to do something. What's the ketchup company? Is it Heinz? Heinz, was it 57? Heinz 57? I think it's this story. Don't hold me to it, but I think it is the Heinz story where the man who made Heinz, the ketchup, he tried it 57 times. That's why it was called Heinz 57, because on the 57th try, he got the recipe right. You know, so a part of this is hardship and failure is not really hardship and failure. It's designed to help you refine yourself and help you refine who you are on a soul level so that your front matches your back. I was just talking about this with my friend earlier. A lot of people fronts don't match their back, meaning they present one way, but they actually a whole nother way. You know what I mean? So somebody can seem like they real cool, like they, whatever up front, and then boom, you get to see their back, and it's a completely different person on the back. And that's a misalignment, So authenticity is your front and your back matching up. So the fourth way to judge righteously is to use your intuition and divine inner guidance as your lens. Your intuition is always speaking to you. And it's a feeling. It's something that comes over you. It's like an inner knowing. Sometimes it is it's the mask that slips. Yes, that's what it is, right? The mask slips and then you see the people front don't match their back. Yes, but your intuition is there to guide you. You have to be, you have to, what does it say in the Bible? Be still and know that I'm God. That's your intuition. You know what I mean? Be still and you can hear the whispers. You can feel the whispers. And sometimes you might try to talk to God and you feel like God ain't talking back to you. And that's also intuition as well too. To just know that like when it's time, God will speak, or I will feel that feeling. I will feel that presence come over me as to how I will move forward. So to close this out, I just want to recap. I talked about thank God for Judas and how betrayal, it might seem like betrayal on the physical level, but on the divine level, it is divinely orchestrated. Jesus fulfilled his prophecy. He did. Like Judas did all of us a favor by doing that, right? So that Jesus could fulfill his prophecy and that we could see the divinity in man. We all have a prophecy too. We all have a prophecy. And so all of those people and all of those situations are helping you go through your own crucifixion and your own resurrection, your rebirth. Your resurrection is your rebirth. So we went over that you perceive beyond, to see with the divine eye means to perceive beyond appearances, to look at the why and not the what. The what is what's in front of you. The why is the bigger picture. You view life through the lens of purpose and not punishment. And you understand that everything is working together for a higher good, even when it doesn't look like it. So when the natural eye sees delay, the divine eye sees preparation. When the natural eye sees betrayal, the divine eye sees activation. And when the natural eye sees lack, the divine eye sees opportunity for faith. And that is the point, is that you want to get to a place where you are able to judge righteously. That means through spiritual discernment. To judge righteously is to see with the eye of God. It's to recognize that what looks like pain may be the very path to power. The divine eye doesn't look at people for who they appear to be. It sees them for who they were sent to be, right? So these people coming into your life. Here's an example too, because I was gosh, apparently I'll be talking to a lot of people. There's somebody else I was talking to today about relationships. And as a woman, I'm like, I hear a lot of other women who have just sworn off dating men. They just like, I'm not dating no man. I don't want no man to say nothing to me. I'm cool, right? Instead of recognizing it as maybe this is an opportunity for me to refine myself and my standards so I don't attract the same kind of guys, right? It's on you, it's not on them. I mean, these are the people who you agreed to allow to come into your life to help you refine what your standards for yourself in dating and being in a relationship and partnership is. You would not know what those standards were had you not had these horseflies of men to help you refine what it is that you want to see. And you have to be a reflection of the thing that you want to see, right? So it's helping to grow you and to develop you so that you're not out here just swearing off men because you keep attracting men. You got to understand that if these men are coming to you, you're on their frequency. Y'all in the same frequency bracket. And if you decide that I want a higher caliber of men, a higher frequency of men, then you have to do the work on you in order for that to happen. Which brings me to next week, I might do a segment on relationships. I might do a segment on relationships because I think it's important for women to understand our divine feminine energy and really what that means, and not this TikTok main culture type of definition around divine femininity. I mean, I have a lot to say about that because that has to do with motherhood and the men that we bring into our lives, like, and as women, like, we have to do better. Like, we have to do better because we are the ones who set the standard. We set the standard for the nation because we have the babies. And so we're like, oh, we're looking for a man to lead. Okay, that's fine. Your divine feminine energy determines if and how that man leads. He's if you leading him, he'll follow you. He'll follow you to the end of the world. That man will follow you to the end of the world if you know how to tap into and use your divine feminine energy. The power really lies with you. And if you allow men to get away with the things that they get away with, that's why they do them, because so many women didn't let them get away with it. That's what they, why would they stop? If every woman they met had standards, men would change. But they don't change because it's a lot of women who don't have standards and don't know their divine feminine energy. And so men just out here running amok. But anyway, that is now we talking about tonight, but I'm done. Um, Thank y'all for tuning in. Anybody who joined, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm really finding my footing on this online space. I actually said a prayer before I got on here because I'm like, it is time for me to transcend this energy that I've been stuck and stagnant in about doing this work online. And I'm just ready to step into that. So tune in to my journey. Thanks for watching. Good night. Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. I'm oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. I'm oh wow. Oh wow. Why am I saying oh wow? Oh wow. I'm oh wow. Oh wow. Why am I saying oh wow? Oh wow. It's still streaming. I thought I'd stopped streaming a long time ago. Welcome, 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 character and you know. So authenticity means to perceive beyond appearance. Those standards were nation because we have the babies. And so we're like, oh, we're looking for a man to lead. Okay, that's fine. Your divine feminine energy determines if and how that man leads. He's if you lead him, he'll follow you. He'll follow you to the end of the world. That man will follow you to the end of the world if you know how to tap into and use your divine feminine energy. The power really lies with you. And if you allow men to get away with the things that they get away with, that's why they do them, because so many women didn't let them get away with it. That's what they, why would they stop? If every woman they met had standards, men would change. But they don't change because it's a lot of women who don't have standards and don't know their divine feminine energy. And so men like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm really finding my footing on this online here because I'm like, it is. Oh my God. Not me flicking my nose and shit. I flicked my nose at the end. Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. I'm oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. I'm oh, oh wow. Why am I saying oh wow? Oh wow. I'm oh wow. I'm human. Oh, wow. Why am I saying oh wow? Oh, wow. It's still streaming. Okay. Nice. I'm here because I'm like, it is time for me to transcend this energy that I've been stuck and stagnant in about doing this work online. And I'm just ready to step into that. So tune in to my journey. Thanks for watching. Good night. I'm tripping. Man, I dug in my nose like that. I'm human. Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. I'm oh wow. What was I reading? Oh wow. Oh wow. I'm oh wow. Oh wow. Why am I saying oh wow? Oh wow. I'm oh wow. Really enjoy when you were a kid. Whatever you enjoyed as a kid, that is something that you probably need to tap back into now as an adult. I'm gonna start right on time at 6:01. He wanted to show man that we could rise above what we see in the natural to get heaven on earth because it's possible, right? Is rising to Christ consciousness. Jesus had risen to Christ consciousness. His old self, the old personality, is what died on the cross. What was resurrected was the spiritual man, the spiritual eye, or the divine eye. Because tonight's topic is called the divine eye. Judge not by appearances. So Jesus, his former self, is what died on the cross, and what